Yo, what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and starting our day today early in the morning. Gotta have some good energy. But today we're going to be very educational, very enlightening today, because I want to talk to you about a true understanding of what we can learn from a couple of basic things about the city of Babylon, and what we should grasp from it. Now, I know most of your understandings of Babylon has come from what the Judaism, Christianity, Islam has taught you, what we've known from the Bible. But if we are true students of enlightenment, then true students of the truth, true students of what is reality, then we take in from all forms of instruction, all manner of learning, which is a very important thing that we're going to learn about the city of Babylon today, and how we can use this for our own enlightenment and how we move about in our own life. Before I get started, though, how about some gratuitous self-promotions from myself?
I'd like to take a moment to thank all our sponsors. For everyone on Patreon who supports this channel through your monthly donations, you are greatly appreciated. And I look forward to providing you free content as well as exclusive live video chats. You will also be able to receive discounts on products from Uncle Renz Popcorn as well as coaching from Coach Renz. This video is also sponsored by Uncle Renz Popcorn, where you can get 25 flavors of delicious gourmet popcorn, from salt and vinegar to strawberry cheesecake, from caramel and cheddar to bacon jalapeno, and many others like cookies and cream. I greatly appreciate everyone who supports us at Uncle Renz Popcorn. This channel is also supported by Coach Renz, where you can not only get all your life coaching, your relationship coaching, but also get your business coaching from Coach Renz, as we teach you how to move your hobbies into a business, not a job for yourself, but a business. We also teach you life principles of leadership and meditation. So go to CoachRenz.com and support the sponsors of this channel.
All right, I appreciate everybody. Thank you very, very, very much. Hey, look, if you are a long-time listener, listen to my video, find me for the first time, hit that subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. All right, we only got a couple weeks before we end this year, and we want to end this year with 5,000 subscribers. That's my goal. That's my goal, and I need you guys in order to be able to do that. So I appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. Find me for the first time. Talk about 360 degrees of life. Talk about your health, wealth, your spirituality, and your relationship. So today, I don't even know what category this falls under, but it doesn't matter. Let's go. City of Babylon, the ancient city of Babylon. Many of you will know that to be in and around where Baghdad is today, in Iraq. Now, about 200 plus years ago, archaeologists found the ancient city of Babylon. Prior to that, we only knew about Babylon from stories that were in the Christian Judaic Bible. We knew a little bit about it from Greek writings. We knew a little bit from Egyptian trade writings. We just knew a little bit about the city of Babylon. We only knew about kings like Nebuchadnezzar or Darius when he conquered Babylon. And then after Darius had conquered Babylon, a couple of hundred years later, the city was abandoned and it went back to the desert. But we discovered Babylon was rediscovered about over 200 years ago. And in that rediscovery, hundreds of thousands, not a couple, not a few, hundreds of thousands of stone and clay tablets have been found, talking about all manner of things, from poetry, personal contracts, family lineage, history, songs, wisdom, financial wisdom. So much information, and has been and is still being deciphered and uncovered about the ancient city of Babylon. We're going to talk about a couple things and how it applies to your life today and how you can apply it. One of the first things I want to talk about in the city of Babylon is this is how the city came about in itself. In itself, how it came about. The deal about Babylon is this. Where it sat was along the Euphrates River. It was in the middle of nowhere, middle of nothing. Had no rational person would say, let's build a civilization here. it only had two resources. It had very fertile ground, and it had the Euphrates River. And with that very fertile ground and the Euphrates River, the city of Babylon became one of the richest cities in history. It wasn't along any natural trade routes, but it became the trade center from east and west, from Europe, North Africa, to India, and so on, and China. It became it was the main focal point. That's where people came from all over the world to trade there. How did Babylon do that? And in the same way, I want you to relate this to you. The fertile ground is your mind. The Euphrates River is the flow of information. You understand? The fertile ground is your mind. The Euphrates River is the flow of wisdom and information. Here's the thing. What was discovered is that Babylon, under an unknown king, at least unknown to me, went through a process of irrigation. One of the greatest and earliest feats of engineering in written language and known history. We can marvel today if somebody redirected the flow of a river to irrigate hectares of land in order to begin to raise cattle, to farm, to water the fertile ground, because there was no water. It was just sunbathe. Not enough rain fell in that area a year. Without the Euphrates, it couldn't happen. But these people, they irrigated. That was amazing. They say some of the irrigation tunnels have been discovered to have been wide enough for 36 horses to ride next to each other. That's pretty. We think that we're intelligent today, and we like to think that people back then weren't as intelligent. And even though the Sumerian writings say that the gods just told them how to do it, the fact is it was done. Regardless of who told them it was done. The wisdom was there for it to be done. Somebody had a vision when standing at the banks of the Euphrates River, looking across the arid desert and saying, this can be fertile ground. I can make the desert bloom. And it was done. Your mind is that fertile ground. When a child is born, the child's mind is fertile ground that is irrigated by the wisdom of the parents, their teachers, their religious leaders, their uncles and aunties and brothers and sisters and other community members. The waters of the Euphrates is the wisdom of the people that is around the child as it grows, and it's around you right now. So the first question is, what are you allowing to water your fertile ground? What are you allowing to water your fertile ground, your mind? What's being taught to you, and what's not being taught to you? What are you allowing to escape your grasp? As I drive past houses right now, as I came out of my neighborhood, I think about how so many people desire to own their own land, own their own home. One of the keys of wealth, and I'll do another video about that. One of those 7 keys of wealth is to own the land of the house that you live in, is to own your land. It is not that hard. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes you being able to save 1/10 of what you earn in order to invest it into a down payment for your house. It takes you having a great credit score in order to do it. Actually, you don't have to have a great credit score. You can have a credit score of 580 and then just get an FHA loan, but have 3.5% down. So if you want a $200,000 house, you're going to need $7,000 to put down. How long will it take you to save $7,000 if you put away 1/10 of what you earn? And do you have the patience and the discipline to do it? You do. It is in your mind. Your mind determines that patience. And we're going to talk a lot about finances over the next few months. So You can, and you have the ability to do so. It's in your fertile ground. But what are you watering it with? Are you watering your fertile ground with, hey, it's the holidays and I want to get the kids all this stuff for Christmas. Hey, it's the birthday, I gotta go to the birthday. Oh, it's the weekend, I gotta go and party and gotta go out to the clubs. And hey, oh, it's summer and I want to go on this big vacation because I worked so hard. I want to go on vacation to here or there. Oh, everybody's going to the DR and people going to Cuba now, and I want to go on the trips with everybody else. And then you look back and you say, well, it's so hard to buy a house. I can't buy a house. The man is keeping me from buying a house. The system won't let me buy a house. The economy is so bad. But yet you go on vacations, you're buying all the shoes, you're doing all these different things, and you could be saving 1/10 of what you earn to invest into your own home. I've owned a couple of homes in my life, and I will admit, even though right now I don't particularly care to own a house because I know I want to move in about 7 years, there is a certain amount of joy, a certain amount of peace, a certain amount of pride that you settle into when you own your own home. When you say, this is my house, I can do as I choose at my house. There's no landlord who can come and do anything. There's nobody's gonna raise the rent. Those kind of things. There's a certain something about that. There's a certain something about that. So you want to get to that something. You want that something in your life. So the city of Babylon has shown that a person with a vision and the desire to work and a plan can fertilize vast areas and build a city. It says from what we've learned from Babylon that a queen, I think her name is Samatri, or it starts with an S, that a queen was the first builders of the highest walls of Babylon that held off many who would want to plunder Babylon for its treasures. Now I want you to think about that. Babylon was just an arid, dry, desert place fit for nomads to walk by, feed, water their horses, keep on going. A few farmers here and there that were right along the banks. But its irrigation system became so vast that a queen, and think about it, a queen. We live in such a patriarchal society, but a queen built the first walls that came into defense of Babylon. And for centuries, and let me give you an idea of how many centuries. On some of the clay tablets, they recorded certain eclipses that had occurred that could be seen from Babylon. Eclipses of the moon, eclipses of the sun. And modern modern astronomers have used math and science to calculate that these eclipses, lunar and solar, happened over 8,000 years ago. Over 8,000 years ago. Babylon was a city that was recording history on clay tablets, recording contracts, had a system of writing, had already built walls because the walls were already built, had already built walls. It was already a trade route over 8,000 years ago. 8,000 years ago. We've done 2,000 years now. That puts Babylon already a civilization, a thriving civilization, in the year 6,000 BCE. In the year 6,000 BCE. That's how long ago it was. That a queen had built city walls older than 8,000 years ago. So we don't know if Babylon was 10,000 BCE, 12,000 BCE, but it was way past 6,000 BCE. What are the walls that are around you that will protect you? The Assyrians, the Akkadians, the Hittites, many tried to crash the walls of Babylon. But the The walls of Babylon kept invaders out, made the people safe. What walls of protection do you have around your mind, around your fertile valley, around the city of who you are, the house of you? What walls are protecting you? What do you have that's protecting your health? What are your walls? What are your standards that protect your health? What are your standards, your walls that protect you in relationship? What are your standards, your wall that you have protecting you financially? What are your standards and your wall that are protecting you spiritually? What is protecting you? Or are you just out in the middle of nowhere with no walls? Are you a city built with no walls? In the Hebrew writings, it talks about how, I think it was Nehemiah or Jeremiah. It's one of them. It's one of the Mayas. I always get those two confused. But I believe it was Nehemiah who knew that the walls and the gates of the city of Jerusalem were down. And that he felt pity and distress because when the walls were down, it allowed for bandits and marauders and others to come in and plunder the city. And he felt grieved, and he was the cupbearer, so I think it was Nehemiah. And he asked the king if he can go back and build the walls of Jerusalem. And even when he got there, the people who were in charge were all so negative and like, oh, you ain't gonna be able to do it, and blah, 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 blah. But yet, he built the walls of the city, and the city gained its honor again. It gained its prestige again. The citizenry felt safe again. They were able to protect against marauders. They were able to enforce immigration and taxation. And I am not supporting that dude in his wall. But that story, Nehemiah understood because that was a common thing thousands of years prior to Nehemiah. And a queen did it. So get out of your male egotisms and understand that a queen, that the nurturing part, the feminine energy, the nurturing part of you should be building the protection, while the masculine part of you, your masculine energy, defends the wall. You see, most of the defenders on the wall were men. The ones who poured the hot oil down on invaders as they tried to climb the ladders. The ones who set up on the walls with archery. The ones who sat behind the walls with spears just in case they broke through. The walls were very well guarded, and we have all these tablets that describe many armies trying to break through the walls and the protection that was set. It was a woman who first built the wall. The nurturing, feminine energy builds your wall. The one that wants to protect, has a desire to protect. It's the masculine energy that has the instructions of protection, the saving 10% of what you earn, the investing of it, the reinvestment of the money that it earns, the eating better, having a healthy diet, the actual physical doing it. It is the law of gender in action, that every birth and creation requires masculine and feminine energy. And when it's done so in you, then it can be done so in a partner with you. So first get you, and then your partner, and both of you walk side by side. So another lesson that we learned from the city of Babylon over 8,000 years ago. Law of gender, build your walls. Have a vision. Being able to be mindful of who irrigates, who pours water and nutrients into your mind. Be very conscious of that. And the fact that the city was around for so long. And one of the last things that we're going to do on this video about the city of Babylon is that Babylon existed in this way for king after king after king, for generation after generation after generation. Babylon consistently passed down amazing laws, code, rulership, leadership that kings followed. And every successive good king who followed those rules maintained Babylon. Babylon wasn't a city that went out purposely to conquer. It didn't act as the Greeks with Alexander and go out to extend itself and conquer, nor the Romans to go out and extend itself and conquer. But instead it fought skirmishes and wars to maintain its security. Babylon focused on maintaining Babylon. Babylon did things such as what King Sargon, I believe the second or the third, did, which was to implement the temple of learning, whereby the king said that, hey, look, the people are not evenly distributed in wealth and knowledge and wisdom. So he built the temple of learning, which was second only to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon in its grandeur. He built the temple of wisdom, the temple of learning, so that all the people can grow and learn and have the wisdom if they so true desired it. The instructors were men and women of different statuses. It was a place where slave and prince could speak on equal terms. It was a place that if you had something of worth to give, you were freely able to give it. And if you wanted to learn, you were freely able to come and learn it. We can learn a lot from their leadership. A civilization that maintained itself for thousands of years, maybe 10,000 years. It wasn't until Darius, around 600 BCE, came to the city, while it was the last couple of leadership was so interested in worshiping different gods that the people had already been worshiping. They were so interested in other cities and other things like that. They weren't paying attention to the city of Babylon anymore. That when Darius came, it wasn't really defended, and they pretty much just let Darius have the city. And then after Darius and Xerxes, a couple hundred years later, it was easy pickings for the Greeks. And then a few years, some time after the Greeks, it was an abandoned city because the leadership faltered. But for thousands of years, great leadership passed along from generation to generation. What are we passing along to generation? Are we passing along debt? Are we passing along the slavery of finances? Are we passing along? Let me go back right there. I hear many people who will have bought a house, have a good life, went to college, don't want to give to their next generation. They don't want to do the thing that Arkad did with Namasir, and say, here's a bag of gold, 2 bags of gold, plus the 5 laws of gold. We despise that somehow. Somehow, many of us say that, no, I had to work hard to make it. They need to work hard and make it. Yes, they do need to work hard and make it. Our children do need to learn to work hard and make it. But they need to get a start better than the start we had. My son will have a better start than I had. My daughters have had a better start than I had. They still will get a better start than what I had. They have the parent, and will continue to have the parent that will say, oh, you have a business, let me help you develop it. Here's some money. Here's some wisdom. Let's go do this thing. This is what Arkad taught Namasir. This was recorded in the tablets of the Babylonians. But yet, we despise when rich people do it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all of the Trumps. Not even slightly. But I can say this. The fact that I've heard people get angry and talk about, well, he ain't much of this or much of that because his daddy gave him $250 million to start his business. That's so what? That's what you do. Whether he used his name to gain importance, gain wealth, regardless of how he gained his wealth, regardless of if you think he's a good business person or not, what I'm focusing on here is the fact that his father said, hey, I invest in real estate. Let me show you how I do it. Let me send you to the best colleges. And then here's $250 million to get you started. What you do with that thereafter is up to you. I don't like the man, but he did something right with it. He's the president of the United States. He was a billionaire before he became that. He did something right. For every time somebody tells me that, I ask them, where's your billion? You say he's not a good business person, that he's not a real, where's your billion? You know? And some of you in the comments going to say, well, he did that, he scammed this, he did that. Come on, people. Come on now. You may not like the man, and that's cool, but whatever. I don't like him either. I'm very disappointed in the man. Very disappointed. But the fact is, what we can learn from Babylon is the fact that we need to get our children a better situation than what we had, what we started. If you can't get past all the other BS, get to that. Our kids deserve a better start than what we had when we started. So let's dismiss with all the blaming, the scapegoating, and focus in on, what do we do from now, from here? What is our leadership? What is and I'm not talking about the president. I'm not talking about your local congressperson. I'm not talking about them. We need to work on them too. They need to get some. They need to get some of this. But what I'm saying is, the only way they're going to get some of this is, first, you got to be a great leader for yourself. You got to be a great leader for your family. You have to be the kind that says that I'm going to build something that my kids can leapfrog. I'm going to build something so that my grandkids can go even further. There's a story in one of the writings that talks about how a man went from slavery, moved to another city, Damascus, and became one of the wealthiest and respected people in that city. He never told his grandkids that his grandkids didn't know he was once a slave. That it was so far from who he was at that moment that the generations didn't even realize where his grandfather started from. We have to build something that removes us so far from the histories that people look down on, to say that, wow, look at how far you've gone. I'm not saying we forget about slavery, not even slightly. I'm not saying we forget about Jim Crow. We must maintain the memory of those things in order to never fall back into those things. But what we must do as a people, and as people, period, is give to every generation that which makes the next generation better, so that when we look back and say, wow, I can't believe that American society was that reprehensible. I can't believe that Zulu society was that reprehensible, that Chinese society was that reprehensible, that European society was that reprehensible. I can't believe that it used to be like that. It's such a cruel, unfair system. We have to remove ourselves from that. We have to get past that. We have to give our grandkids and our great-grandkids the ability to be well beyond that, and we do that through great leadership. Babylon has shown great leadership through generation and generation and generation and generation, because it maintained itself, and it grew, and it became greater and greater and greater and greater. It wasn't until bad leadership that the city fell, that the people became scattered and abandoned to the point where they were forgotten in history, that the true understanding of who they were was gone. For almost 2,000 years, gone. Will you be forgotten in 100 years? Will you be forgotten in 200 years? Will you be forgotten? Hell, some of us will be forgotten in 50 years. No one will mention your name in 50 years. 50 years after you pass, no one will mention your name. No one will say, I remember. No one will say, Grandma, Grandpa, such and such did this. No one will say, Grandma, great-grandparents did that. In my family, the memory of my grandparents lives on. There are children who are in their 20s now who never knew Eddie J. Ross and Isabel Ross. But if you heard them speak, they speak of them as if they grew up with them, as if they knew them. My grandparents died they passed along from this, they transitioned from this existence in the late 80s, my grandfather, and the early 90s, my grandmother. And these children who was born in 95, 96, 2000, they speak of them as if they grew up with them. And that continues the line. Who will speak of you? What legacy will you leave? And all of that is based on the leadership that you provide, that you have in your life. Expand that to the country. America can only continue to exist based on the type of leadership. Our leadership now is very woeful. And not just with Trump, not just with this Congress, but for decades, it has not been great leadership. Decades. That includes every last one of them. Some a little bit better than others. But we have not had leadership that wasn't self-serving. We have not had that. And in the black community, our leadership is actors and musicians and athletes. That's some straight up bull. Our leadership used to be men and women who were in the community. It used to be the mothers and fathers in the community. It used to be leadership that stood for something beyond a political gain. After integration, all the leaders joined the society. They joined the they got jobs. They became politicians, basically. And now we honor them, but we honor them for their past. We don't honor them for what they are currently doing or what they did in the latter years. Oh, this person is a great senator. They was a civil rights mover. But what have they done for the last 15 years? Oh, well, they built housing. They did this. Okay, they did something, a little something. Not all bad. But they weren't as great as they were before they got that job. So what we can learn from the city of Babylon and its leadership is that great wisdom must be passed down from generation to generation. That how to build wealth, how to protect your walls, how to protect your kingdom, how to protect your family, that is the leadership that we must build. How to protect your mind, how to gain wisdom unfeathered from all around the world. That is where we need to be moving, and that is one of the things we can learn from the city of Babylon. This video is a lot longer than I anticipated, but it's all right. So we have to learn that and do good work, great work hard, build, save a tenth of what you earn, invest it, build walls to protect your family, protect your mind, get your health in order. You know, all those things are vital for your continued growth and development, for building the house of you. So if you want to continue to build that house of you, you got to take these things in and be able to look between the lines and learn these kinds of things. The city of Babylon, it was built. It was over 8,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago. They had eclipse. They used to worship these guys and that god. And they wrote this, that they were from the Sumerians, and they were originally Sumerians, and they wrote, the Atrahasis and all these kind of things. And I'm going to argue and fight over all that stuff and you're missing all that other good stuff, all that other good wisdom that helps build the house of you, that then builds your family. You're missing all that good stuff. We got to get into that good stuff. All right. That's why there are those who say, yeah, I see you fighting over this. You're fighting over that. You're dividing yourself over these different things: color, finances, religion, gender. You're fighting over all these things while we're over here gaining. We're over here gaining. We got to get into the group that gains. So I've arrived at my kitchen. Time to go in here and make some popcorn for Uncle Ren's Popcorn. Go to urpopcorn.com and order you something for the holidays and for any days. Watching a movie, watching my videos, you need some popcorn. It's a popcorn worthy video. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable.